Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second catch-up book club Faithfallalong live show for Valour by John Gwynne.
Not
Hope
me
you're
being the
ready.
only one to have. Okay.
You have the one with the
Ooh,
wrong spelling. The
yeah,
wrong spelling.
right.
Why don't you have the US spelling, Deb?
This is the US spelling.
No, Deb.
Oh,
I
yeah.
bought them as a set, so I got whichever set they sent me.
It's giving credit to the nation, but okay.
Yeah, this is the live show for Valour by John Gwynne, so there will be spoilers pretty much straight off the bat for at least Malice. So if you have not read Malice and you don't want to be spoiled, would recommend that you're not here until you have finished that book. We love you, but goodbye. And
Later.
this video is also in a playlist as well that's on my channel if you guys need to catch up on the live shows. There's a playlist and you can watch the Malice one and then this one as well if you so choose. But do I need to do a synopsis?
You're so good at them.
Am I though? I don't know what my synopsis is for this one yet. I haven't worked it out. Like it's not right.
Improv.
Maybe the series.
Improv.
Should I try? Okay.
Yeah.
So The Faithful and the Fallen is a classic struggle between
like this live show.
between the forces of light and dark. So in this one, there was a war between giants and men that happened way in the past of this world. There's been peace for a long time, but things are stirring once again when a prophecy starts to come to light about an avatar for the forces of good and an avatar for the forces of bad that are going to gather the people of the nation behind them and fight to ultimately see who's the winner. So in this, we are following a bunch of perspectives, assumedly the avatars of dark and light, as well as their supporters, their followers, pivotal players in this battle, both historically and presently, and the war that ensues when everything goes tits up. There we go. Very, very professional.
Very accurate.
So we'll start with everyone's, I guess, not super spoilery, basic thoughts on this book, starting with Deb.
Okay. I finished this over a week ago, so I could do it before vacation. So things might already be a little fuzzy, but I loved this book. I had fun with it. I thought I picked up the audiobook for this one just because I was so in. Okay, we're having an earthquake, so maybe move on.
Oh, Gav.
Oh, are you okay? Well, firstly, I hope you're okay. Secondly, yeah, I do like this book a lot. Bless you, Deb. I do like this book a lot. It was a 3.5 for me. It wasn't as good as Malice, in my opinion, but I still think it's so good. And it's so night and day for me because, yeah, I'm doing Middle Earth along with Aaron at the minute. So, like, reading things like The Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, like, it's reading, like, night and day. Like, I do love the classic feeling of, like, John Gwynne's book, but it's not as detailed. It's, like, not as, like, in my opinion, as rich. So, like, when we're getting battle scenes, it's not as, like, you know, like, I can't really picture a whole lot of it, but it's also a strength of this series of how direct the narrative is and how it just cuts the bullshit and goes like straight into the story essentially. So I do love the like how different it is to Lord of the Rings. But yeah, this one's a 3.5 for me. I do like Malice just a little bit more. And yeah, there's so many themes in this I loved as well, like found family. I thought was a really good theme in this one. And yeah, we can talk more in depth about it when we get to it. But yeah, it's definitely a series that I'm very glad I'm reading. Like I'm not, you know, scared that I'm reading this.
Before we move on to Aaron's thoughts, I want to ask Aaron, do you like Lord of the Rings?
No.
Because Gavin's like, oh, Lord of the Rings is better, and I'm like,
it's like, well, I love Lord of the Rings so much, but like it is like night and day, you know, like seeing them because like Tolkien is like very detail heavy, and then Gwynne isn't exactly. So, but I honestly, it's so funny hearing Aaron's thoughts.
Before we even get into my thoughts, I want to position us a little bit because I have read half of Wheel of Time, and I'm reading The Lord of the Rings for the first time, and I read this series for the first time 4 years ago. And so when I think about, also, you know, I love everybody. I'm watching Becca's content. I know Becca's content almost better than she does. So Becca is reading this while she's reading Wheel of Time, and then also while she's reading Wheel of Time, and she's been for like 2 years. She's seeing the influence of Wheel of Time and all the things that she's reading, from this to Thorn, but the Chorus of Dragons series with Memory of Souls. Gavin, he did the first and last Wheel of Time. He's also rereading Lord of the Rings. It's like his favorite series, and now he's reading this. And so when Gavin is like, okay, I'm comparing Lord of the Rings to this, and Becca's like, I'm comparing Wheel of Time to this, and it's like grandfather, son, grandfather, father, son is the situation that we have going on. And whereas
I love that.
the Rings might be more rich in the world, at least in my opinion, this story is a lot more rich in character and like interpersonal dynamics, because I feel like with Lord of the Rings, the characters are the vehicle through which we're experiencing the world and the story, versus here, it's all about the characters. And then if you aren't familiar with John Gwynne and his like lore, if you've ever seen a picture of him, you probably will know this, but he is like a Viking reenactor. So he like all the maces and this and that. So the way he writes combat is kind of like how it would be. Like if you ever have you ever been in a fight? Probably not.
Who, me? Or Becca? Or
like a fist fight or something. Well, you're not like, okay, this person stood on their back leg. This not. You're like, oh, a fist came in my face. Like, it's so many moving parts, and it's like this heady experience. You're not really aware of everything. And he writes battle scenes kind of like that, similar to like the Rainbow Saga. So, with all that being said, this is my least favorite book in the series. So some of y'all are a little bit safer than you would have been otherwise.
So it could have been in a fight. We could have gotten in a fight.
If you have read Stormlight, you know how with Stormlight you'll have the character's book, and then the next book is where you see the least amount of that character. Corbin is my favorite character, and so like book 1 was really Corbin's book, and so we see the least amount of Corbin in Valour, and this is really like Macwin's book. So because I had the least amount of my favorite character, I'm already like, and then everyone's spread out, and I hate that. I
will say that knowing that you had said that this was the book with the least amount of Corbin, I was surprised by how much of him we still had. Because I was like, oh my god, like we're not going to see him at all. But no, he was still pretty consistent through that.
He wasn't as much in the beginning. Like he definitely picked up more later. There was a lot of him, but he was a little. I have all my different characters tabs. So I'm like.
But also, like in that first one, Corbin is with his sister, he's with his dad, he's with Gar. So even when you're not in his POV, you're still seeing him because the other people around him are seeing him. Versus now, everybody's scattered to the wind.
Yeah,
true.
I am just gonna, before we move on to Sandra, where's that? Yeah, it is the Wheel of Time map, because they all told me no one would notice. When you pay for StreamYard, which is the thing that we use to stream when we do book clubs, like you can choose your background, and I don't pay for it anymore, so I can't choose my background, and it normally gives you this default back screen. But today it gave me the Wheel of Time map, and I can't change it. Just rolling with it, apparently. But yeah, it's glitched because it's not supposed to do this, but that is indeed the Wheel of Time map. But Sandra, thoughts?
I was going to say at least it's like in the same vibes, like it's a fantasy map, at least, you know. Thoughts? I don't know thoughts. I don't know. I read this with my friend, and I told her this is how I feel. It's like when you listen to a friend tell you a story, and you care about your friend a lot, but your friend is using a really, really long time telling you the story, and then you're just like, can you just get to the point already? Even though you care for your friend. And like you want to like know they're gonna be okay, but it's also like, can you just get to the point? Because at this point, I just like you're just walking around like, and that's how I felt about this book. So it's like I care about the story, I care about the characters, but I just feel like not a lot happened, and it's like it's a really long book for nothing to happen. Like if you think about each point of view, everything is like squeezed into the last 50 pages, and it was a bit like wow. So I feel like the book could have literally been like shorter, but then also saying that someone is going to say, oh, but you like Wheel of Time. I know, okay, but I also criticize time how they are written, because I also think they use ages in there to do stuff, but I still care for the characters, so I gave it a 3.
Deb, is your earthquake ended?
Yes, apparently it was a 4.4. Not that close to me, but it was enough to feel it.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So hopefully that's the end of it.
Rest of your thoughts?
Yes. I generally enjoy this. I get where Sandra's coming from. I do think it was a little bit longer than for what we accomplished in it. And it took me a while to get going in it at the beginning. I did pick up the audiobook for this one compared to the previous one, which I read physically. So that could also be part of it. But I still had a really good time with it. It was a solid 4.5, I think, for me. So good times.
Okay.
So,
Well, I give it a 4.5, rounded up to a 5.
oh wow!
I cried at the end.
With all
Oh.
the action, I'm so shocked.
Oh my gosh!
So you said that this is Macquin's book, and I think he might be my favorite character.
Well, you're in for a ride, sister.
I also really like, who else do I like? I like all of the like older characters. Like
Gar? I love Gar.
I like Gar. I like the guy, is he called Halion? Is that how you pronounce his name? The one who's like the first Sword of Arden, who is Connell's brother. I like him as well.
Yes.
And Macquin was my favorite in this one.
I love a group of veteran, like a Burridge, it's just something about that type of character.
I also, somebody mentioned in the comments that they were sad that they didn't get enough Varadis, and I also might be a bit of a Varadis stan, because I feel like he's teetering on the edge. He's going to go one of two ways, and I don't know which way he's going to go, but I'm really excited to see. But
I love Tuckle too. You'll see more of Varadis, given the ending and things. You'll see more of him in one.
But yeah, no, I thought that it was. I feel like this series, it's still very much like it's Game of Thrones in the font of like Rob. Like I said last time, I still very much feel like that. But as we got more into it, while it is stylistically very similar to a lot of different fantasy series that we've read before, the plot isn't the same. I mean, like we've said, like you can compare everything back to Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time. Game of Thrones is also like super common across the genre, because Game of Thrones started publishing in the late 90s?
1996.
So at that point, that was influencing like the genre, and I think this was written in 2012. I think Malice started, so it has a whole ton of influences. But I feel like because this is so character driven, the more you read it, the more invested you get in it, because you care about the characters more. So that is why I enjoyed this book more. It still is very similar to a lot that I've read, but I care about the characters more, which is why I was more invested. But I actually really like that it has a similar kind of plot to Game of Thrones, with all of the political intrigue and the backstabbing and the betrayals. And then you also have the fact that people can die at any moment, but then you're also much more invested in the characters in this, because with Game of Thrones, it's more of like an impartial view of what's happening, whereas the writing in this is definitely supposed to make you care about some characters more than others. So it's a little bit more impactful, in my opinion. So yeah, it doesn't feel like a full 5, but I do 4.5, so round it up.
I struggled the first time through this series, and I think that's why I don't remember a whole lot with the characters, because there were so many and you kept getting more and more. And I think paying better attention this time and actually physically reading the first book, and then now I'm appreciating that we're getting these characters added in as POVs as we go versus having all of them in book 1. I think it's working better for me, and I think I'm connecting better, because first time around, books 3 and 4 started to lose me just because I lost connection with the characters. And at that point, you're sunk if you're not connected. So I have really high hopes for this time around.
I feel the same. I also lost control in 3 and 4 the first time.
I think the thing that's actually stopping me from giving this 5 stars is that there's not enough plot twists. Like, the only thing that I'm surprised about at the minute is who is going to die. Like, I know people are going to die, and it's like, it could be one of 3 characters in every group, and it's like the specific one is what I'm surprised about. Everything else is kind of like, okay, I could see this coming.
Yeah, there was quite a few moments where I thought I could see it coming. Like some of the deaths I thought I saw coming as well. Like, sorry to bring this up so early in the live show as well, but the mum, I kind of just knew as soon as they all got back to Cohen, I just knew that the mum wasn't going to survive for much longer. Same with Ogle as well. I just felt like because they were in it together in those pits, and it did feel like only one of them would survive, even though all hell broke loose by the end of it, and it got a little bit crazy. I kind of knew he would also go. So I feel like because this is like a very it is like a standard fantasy. It's following all the trademarks, all the hallmarks of it. You have the chosen one, you have Corbin as the main character, he has a dog. Well, not a dog, but like Wolven, but like, you know, like it's following all of those things.
Forget about Butter. He does have a dog.
Butter. Yeah. But it was Butter. It was Butter.
Is it Buddha? However,
But I don't remember how it was in the audiobook. The dad, Corbin's dad's dog.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. So yeah, it is following like all the hallmarks and all the trademarks. So I like some of it I did think came across as a little predictable, but it's like it again, like what I said before about like it being like night and day with like the Lord of the Rings and stuff. Like I do love the fact that it is giving me a story that I can kind of rely on is gonna give me a fantasy story where it is gonna be like this epic quest and we have a chosen one thing. I do eat stuff like that up. And I think I wonder why, like like what Sandra saying as well about how it felt like nothing happened. I do think a lot happened, but because John Gwynne doesn't really go into detail about it because it is character driven, it feels like nothing happened. Because sometimes we'll get a battle and then 2 pages later it'll just say, "Oh, the battle was over," kind of thing. So I feel like that's probably why it felt like not a lot happened. But I think a lot did. I think a lot did, like especially politically. Especially with characters and where they ended up as well, because yeah, they were scattered to the wind. They were going everywhere, all of the places across the map, and I did find that very fascinating. But yeah, I think the thing I struggled to connect with was I couldn't really picture some of it. But again, like not every single fantasy series has to go into detail. Like say for instance, the Cauldron. Like towards the end, I couldn't picture what the size of that was supposed to be. Like, if you're going to throw a giant into a cauldron, like how big is this cauldron? Like, you know, there's just certain things that I just couldn't quite picture, so I kind of found that a little bit hard to connect with. But again, like this is it's the series where I'm like so conflicted over because I do really love the characters so much, but I think for me, like it's not going all the way in terms of the description. It's not going all the way in terms of like those plot twists. Like I can kind of see things coming because it's like following a very standard fantasy like route, in my opinion.
I'm going to challenge you on the Cauldron because do you remember the beginning scene of Hocus Pocus where the Cauldron is massive? And also, like, wasn't the 7 things, they were made by giants, right? So it's a cauldron sized for a giant. So I think it is pretty big.
It's just I'm trying to picture. Is it?
And roses.
Yeah, because people go in that cauldron as well.
Yeah, there's that. There's lots of cauldrons apparently have come up, but it's when Nether. Let me just double check. It's Nether or someone is coming out of the cauldron, and I'm just like, he must be tiny compared to like when he's like, you just probably see his like little head coming out of the cauldron or something. It's just like, is there like ladders going up there or like how's he getting in there?
Cauldron.
Well, that's another thing. The magic
to the underworld.
Well, can we talk about the criticisms for just a second to get it out of the way? Like the magic stuff, I'm not really vibing with the magic stuff. I don't think this series is focusing on it. But like, say when Brina and Heb are teaching Corbin the elemental magic, for instance, the earth powers, all he has to do is believe it and say it, and he will do it. I mean, he does learn giantish, fair enough, but it's just like you just have to believe it and feel it, and it will happen. You know what I mean? It's just like some of these magic stuff I just wasn't really vibing with.
But he's the chosen one. If anyone could access the magic easily, wouldn't it be the chosen one?
I'm pretty sure, though, that believing in magic and it being a thing, is that not what happened? This is a long time ago. Is that not the premise of the Ursula K. Le Guin books?
Or Charm?
Oh, probably. Well, Charm, yeah, but Charm, they've got a book of shadows. They've got the power for it.
We got
and they've got this really big cauldron.
But just to say, in Ursula K. Le Guin, you have to like know the ancient, like true language of the world to be able to do the magic. So it's not just believing in it.
But that's the same as this, because you have to speak Giantish, which is the first language of the world. It made me laugh that they call it Giantish, though. It doesn't even start with Giantish. Like, it's hard to say.
Giantish. But that's like literally like the only criticism I really have. Like, I wasn't feeling the magic, you know, like I wasn't feeling the magic system, I wasn't feeling the world building. But I do think the first book had that more in spades, which is probably why I prefer the first book over this one. This one definitely character driven. This one definitely was like, oh, these are like the God War, for instance. It's a coming. These are all the signs of it. The white worms are here, and the tides are changing. It was very ominous. Like I think anything that this book had, it was just very, very ominous. and it was like building and building and building, and it did feel like a climax without an orgasm at the end. But that's probably because, you know, we probably will go into this in book 3 and book 4. I'm sure like Aaron's face is like, yeah, but like
No,
it will go in...
orgasm for me. That just threw me. I'm like, what are we
I thought we were great. Yeah, maybe I was, but I just felt like this was building to something, and it just kind of, obviously because it's the second book in a series in all of that, so that was just like the only, like one of the few niggling things for me is that but it did feel, I love the ominous like feeling of it, I love the atmosphere of it, but it just I don't know. That's my own criticism.
Something that I really enjoyed about this, because even though Gavin thinks that nothing happened, I feel like all of our main perspectives have been pushed to an edge in this book, and in the next one they're going to go over it. So like Corbin, his like essentially the last line of this book is that he's ready for revenge, like he wants to stop everyone. Macquin has been a slave and he's just got his freedom. Fidel was controlled by Lycos. Lycos was attacked by everyone and he's been like chased out. And then there is Corwin, obviously her mum's died. I'm still waiting for her to do something. Like she's still not doing anything. She's just observing the people that she's with, really. She did
beat up Connell. She beat up Connell a couple of times.
She was great. But then when she settled into going along with them, it was kind of like how it was in Malice, where her perspective was mainly just to witness everything that was happening around her. And then the giants.
Baldur One Eye. Is it Baldur? Is it Beth? It's something. The one-eyed giant. Oh, I love him.
Oh yeah. He joined the fray at the end. The only one, so those are the main characters I feel that are. Nathair's at a real turning point. I'm really interested to see where he goes, because he knows that he's not the Bright Star anymore. And the way that he just sat out that entire battle and just sat on the floor and was like, "Oh dear, like, where are we going from here?"
He was so confused.
So yeah, I feel like we definitely had a lot of character development, and I feel like the characters are grittier because of this book. I was sad though, because a lot of the stuff, like obviously, like when we're reading fantasy like this, the good characters are always the underdogs. They're always on the back foot. And it just sucks seeing the world continue to go to shit to get to that point, which I didn't enjoy. Like, it wasn't enjoyable reading a lot of this book, but the book overall, I think, was really good.
Do you think, because we were getting quite a lot of dad deaths, there've been a lot of dads dying, and I'm wondering why. Like, there's so many parental figures just getting cut, but it's mainly the dads. Like, we had Corbin and Cohen's dad in the first book. We had Daph's dad, Farrell's dad, like pretty much everyone's dad.
I think it might be symbolic of the fact that they're growing up and they can't rely on the dads anymore, and they are going to have to be the like protectors and the warriors, as opposed to relying on the dads to be that for them. But it was convenient how everyone's dad died, because they were the dispensable characters, like the disposable ones as well. But we knew that was going to happen when you've got 15 people fleeing. Like, you have to have deaths that are impactful but not meaningful. So the dads had to go, I'm afraid.
Deb, you're a Wheel of Timer too, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this book, you know how Wheel of Time, Moraine and Lan, they go to the two rivers and they collect the kids, okay? And they go to Shadar Lagoon, and they go here and they go there. And then in like books 2 through 7, they go to Camlin, they go to the White Tower, they go to the Aiel. All these different places they're going to collect these alliances, to let them know about the Dragon Reborn, to add people to his son. All those 7 books are condensed into this one book.
Yes.
All that is this one book of because like book 1 is a lot more intimate. We have multiple POVs, but we're mainly following the potential Bright Star and the potential Bright Sun so far, because this is like before everything happens. Now we're pulling back and we're starting to see like everybody's going to be involved, so you got to choose a side. And also there are people who have been making these moves for decades or for centuries, for however long, because you think about it, somebody knew something about Corbin to put guard there. You know, all these different pieces are in place. Somebody knew something about something for whoever, I'm not going to say what it is, to be next to Nether. You know, somebody knew something about something and positioned Veritas to be next to him. The things that are happening with the giants, Evness looking for the book, all these things are already happening. So now this cauldron has been simmering and it's starting to come to a boil. And it's like everyone, also Bren making all these moves. And no, I am talking about Ren, the queen, and moving all these things around. And so now it's like, okay, things that were seemingly unconnected, now these actually are impacting this. And so Nether, he's growing in his battle fame. If you're faithful in the fallen, not faithful in the fallen, but the shadow of the gods, but he's growing in his battle fame. He is creating this legend for himself, and Veritas is there for us to witness what's going on, because it wouldn't be any fun if we were in Nether's point of view and him thinking that he is the bright star when it's very obvious to the reader from almost page 1 that he is in fact not. But also everyone around him fitting into this illusion, and then the creation of the shield wall, and like how they're advancing like this military might, and then collecting all these people and essentially going against the like beliefs of their society, because this is like not Viking but Celtic, whatever, and it's like all about one-on-one combat and like who is the better man in this occasion. It's like, no, we're not doing that, baby. It's shield wall. You're gonna run into this brick wall and you're not gonna do anything. And we're going across. Also, we got to level up your skills. Corbin's, he's been very sheltered. He's practiced a little bit. You know, he's got his little dog. He's got his little wolf, but he's been very sheltered, very protected by his father. So he's been stripped away. He's lost his father. His mother's not there, at least for now. His sister's gone. And so who is he going to become? Who is he going to become when he has nothing? What person is he going to be? Even with Simon, we see her get pushed to the edge of like, I want to be a good person. I'm a kind person, whatever. But she's also there to witness this other POV that we would not see as well. And then with Macwin, you know, your old wolf, he's hung up his coat. He's hung up his arms and he's trying to chill in his life. But then, of course, he has to get drugged back into it. And he got to make this grit come up, and he's got to overcome. And it's like getting this, here comes the cavalry moment, and you're building all this sympathy for him, and he's trying to do the right thing. But no matter what situation he's in, he's gonna pull people to him because he's a magnet for people, and he's gonna do the right thing, and he's gonna fight. And now, okay, we've got this old wolf, we got this character who has this band of people, who has these specific set of skills. And now, what side is he gonna go? Because he could be a piece that could sway one of these parties one way or the other.
That was empowering.
when Aaron goes through the plot like that, the book sounds so much cooler. So maybe you should just like read a book to us, and then it will just be automatically 5 stars.
I do find it interesting that John Gwynne, because he's such like a history buff, and he's like, obviously this is Celtic mythology, it's like Viking, it's Norse inspired. I do find it really interesting that he's included the shield wall, because I mean, I haven't thought about this since I was in primary school, but isn't that a Roman invention? Wasn't it like a turtle thing? They used to make like a turtle out of shields. So like they'd hold the shields at the front and then other people would hold them above so that they were protected from like arrows and stuff.
It is a Roman invention.
I thought so. So it's interesting that he would, because he just seems like such a history purist, that it always intrigued me in Malice when he introduced the shield wall with it being like a Roman invention. So it would have been like quite a bit after like the time of the Vikings and the Celts.
That's where the fantasy comes in.
That is the fantasy element of the series.
I was reading like an article because I was making an argument with somebody, and so I had to go read up something about George R.R. Martin, and he was talking about when he, like, his first thing was Night Flyers, and that was cool, but he didn't have as much success, whatever. And then he was like, he always really loved historical fiction. He really loved historical fiction. He loved fantasy. And he's like, honestly, a really good fantasy book is like a historical fiction book with like a dragon or a sword or, you know, something like that. And so he was like, when he wanted to write Game of Thrones, he was like, I want the like battles and this and that of like historical fiction, but I want just like the little bit of unworldliness that comes with writing fantasy and putting those two together. And so he's like clearly something that, because if you think about Cywin's art, she's definitely Arya. Even when she becomes more stabby by the end, because at the beginning, Arya in the Hound, she was just chilling, she was just whatever, she was mad, just making that list. But then when she got to the place with the people with the no faces, and she built this arc, and she becomes, you know, the person who killed whatever. I mean, can I spoil Game of Thrones for you at this point? I don't know if you haven't seen the show. And that's that art that's coming in. And so this, if you look at the back, and if you don't read historical fiction, you might not know this, but this is blurred by Connie Goulden, who's a really big historical fiction author. It's blurred by David Gemmell. David Gemmel's fantasy is just, it's literally just historical fiction. And historical fiction, if you just take it out of London or take it out of the medieval ages and put it in the Saronic ages, that's the only difference when it becomes fantasy, because fantasy doesn't have to come magic. So like this is like what historical fiction books are like historical fiction, medieval war type books. And then it's like, okay, well, I don't want to be historically accurate, so I'm gonna just, here's a dragon.
You know what? I'm reading this book especially because I do like Game of Thrones. I like Red Rising, which also is greatly influenced by history and the Roman Empire, which we stand. I think that I would like historical fiction, and the thing that puts me off is that it has to be somewhat factually correct, so it's not as exciting, because you can't have these random like fantastical elements just to make it fun, and that's what puts me off reading it. Otherwise, I think I would really, really like it.
Some authors are more purist and more, stick closer to the history of what happened. Others are just like, it's loosely based on the events. Like I would recommend you Stephen Pressfield, Gates of Fire, Conor Gordon, Bernard Cornwell, like The Last Kingdom, Vikings.
I've seen The Last Kingdom, and I like The Last Kingdom.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing?
No.
No, I'm just gonna be quiet. No, because Meredith, or however you say his name, he started to like Sivan a bit, right? Mm-hmm. And I reading this before, I just in my head, I don't know why, but I aged up him a lot. In my head, he was like 40 and she was like 19. I was like, why? He's like her dad. And I was just like, this is weird. Why does he like her? And then my friend was like, I don't think he's that old. And I was like, oh my God. Because I had made this like father-daughter relationship in my head between them. And then suddenly like they started to like think of each other like romantically. And I was like, what is going on? So I thought that was a bit funny, honestly.
He's like 20.
Yeah.
I know that now.
I do. Because he's not like, he doesn't behave like he's 20. So I understand why you would think he's older. Because he feels like one of those like older warriors, but he's not. He's like 20, 21. He's very young.
I know. In my head, he was just like Gar age.
But even like, have you read Round with the Elder? Like, you think Birch is like 50, but he's like 35, maybe.
I know, but he acts like he's 65.
But like in the Middle Ages, people lived to like 47. So
yeah, I wasn't thinking anyone here was that old.
Also, for people who like struggle with figuring out like the passage of time in books, this series takes place over the course of 4 years. So each book is essentially 1 year.
Oh, wow. I noticed that this book was a year because I noticed that time seemed to be passing quickly. And then Corbin says like it's nearly his naming day. So it's been nearly a year since they fled. And I was like, okay, cool. So it's a year then.
Yeah. And it pretty much picks up exactly from the first book as well. You know, seeing Cohen see her father's body as well was like so upsetting. Yeah. To start off the book in that way, it just, oh my God, it broke my heart. And I was this is the kind of book that we're in for. It's going to be sadness, death, despair.
Yeah. I've cried. We've read 2 books and I've cried at 2 out of 2 now.
You think you cried? Oh, Ruin is my favorite book in the series for a reason. You know what type of stuff it takes to become my favorite. It was my favorite book of the year, and I read 320 books that year.
Oh, good grief.
So,
good grief.
Great, so.
Wait, we're doing Ruin in May as well. We're doing Ruin when it's our birthday, Becca. We're probably going to be reading. Yeah, we're going to be reading it, getting devastated on our birthdays.
Who doesn't want a birthday to have stars?
Okay, should we get into talking about some of the characters in depth? Yes, we should probably start with Corbin because it's his series, seemingly at this point. Where does he start off in this book? He starts where he's fleeing. I don't actually think there's nothing really, now that I'm thinking about it, there's nothing super drastic that happens in his perspective until the very end. However, he does create himself a pack of howlers, and I supported that. The Red Rising fan. I was a big
fan. He was
fan.
terrorizing them folks. They thought it was all type of beasts and everything. He was like, he's my noggin.
And he's standing up for himself too, like his mom and Gar are giving him directives and he's backing off and saying, no, I need to make some of my own choices and I still need to be there for my friends. I'm not just running off on my own.
Which is kind of ironic because he is like 17. Yeah. And I am just a little bit like, just sit down and be quiet. But I mean, in his society, he is a man, so I get it.
the more I took from his character in this book was that in the first book he was very family oriented. In this one, I mean, through no choice of his own, he did have to become a little bit more like friend oriented. So I did love the whole aspect of found family, but also like his kind of romance with Maeve for a second. Like kind of it felt like he was growing up. It felt like he was becoming like a man there. And I guess like also I don't know if maybe him and Coraline or anything was like kind of maybe getting a little bit close or not, but I felt with Corbin he underwent like the kind of coming of age. It kind of wasn't all about him, as Aaron said before. Like it definitely was a little bit more everyone else. We didn't get to see a whole lot more about him, other than being told he's the chosen one, of course. But like when it comes to actual character development and his story at hand, it felt like a very like a friendship heavy one in this one rather than family, because when he's with like Darth and Farrell and all of them, he's like, I'm so lucky and so blessed to have people who will scale a mountain for me, so people who will go and find my sister with me, things like that. So I feel like one of the things I loved about Corbin in this one is that he looked beyond family to see like his found family, like beyond his blood family, and like he was still with his mum, and I love the fact that she had a little bit more of a voice in this one as well. We saw her fighting for a second as well. We saw her defending herself, which was awesome. So yeah, one of the things I do love about Corbin is kind of more how he like branches out and sees people beyond his family.
He does still have parental figures though, because he still has Gar and he still has Bryn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Heb as well.
Like, I'm out. Like, goodbye.
Yeah, poor Heb. Poor Heb getting killed. Like poor.
Yeah. I always love a like crone woman character because she's always so funny and always a comic relief, and like, she says all this mystical shit and you're like, what does that mean? And she's like, just do what I say. When you get to my age, I know better. You just were born a decade ago. What do you know about life?
I feel like she got shared energy from Realm of the Oddlings.
Listen, everyone wants to date those girls. I was like, this can't be a Molly situation. I can't do that again. I don't care what happens in the end. I don't like it. I've never liked it, and I wanted it to go away.
I love Bruna's character type. She is awesome. I love her.
Yeah, although I felt awful as well because it got to a point after Heb's death where she was like, where Corbin asks her, are we still going to learn about earth magic? And she's like, I don't know, because I don't really feel like doing much of anything anymore. And that broke me because I was like, this is not Brina. Like, this isn't the way that she acts. Like, she's usually like very whimsical, a little bit like kooky. But after losing Heb, it's like, yeah, it felt like a part of her died as well. So I found that very, very interesting.
Oh my God, Gar and Tucker. Oh, I love them down. I love them so much. I love a father-son relationship with him. I never thought he was going to see him again because that's an Aiel situation. They went across the narrow sea. That's another series, but they went across the waves and had this own society somewhere else, and they were never supposed to come back. But when the bright star came a calling, they're like, oh, we got to go back. Gotta go back. And then the Kadashim coming out and taking control. Oh, we're not there. I'm sorry.
They are definitely, that is one of the parts of this series that reminds me so much of Wheel of Time is the, are they called the Jahar in here? And they're pretty much the same as the Aiel in Wheel of Time, including the fact that we have like two different branches of them, one that follows like the good guys and one that's broken off from them. So that is like super, and a lot of the things about the Jahar are very similar to the Aiel. Anything else about Corbin? I do feel like, actually thinking about it, his perspective wasn't amazing.
I loved when he went to the other world. Like, I loved all of that stuff, and like his chat with Rin, it was very exciting. But it was like
that was something that happened to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, he felt more passive in this book because things happened to him more so than like him actually controlling the narrative. So when he gets taken and he meets Azeroth, that entire scene was just like so rife with tension. I loved it, and I was so glad that it was Gar's dad. And now I'm worried for Gar's fucking dad in the next book. But like Gar's dad, when he like helps them and saves them from that entire situation, it was like one of the most exciting parts of this book. And probably like one of my favorite parts of this book, honestly. The whole a friend in a dark place, and saying Rin go back to the world of flesh and kill him, and I will keep his spirit here and stuff like that. It was just so sinister and so awful. It was exciting though.
Do you think that he is the Bright Star? Aaron, be quiet.
I didn't say nothing. This book is him becoming from a boy to a man, because even at the end of book 1, we see his dad like going to fight a battle for him and protecting him. And he has this really tight family unit. His sister is beating up people in the street for talking bad about her brother. Like, he has this really tight family unit. He has Gar, who's always been right over his shoulder to protect him, and then a lot of that is stripped away. And it's like, it wouldn't be like realistic character development is at the beginning of book 1. He's such a badass and he's this and that. And it's like, you were literally just crying in the corner because they put your nose in the dirt a page ago and y'all have just left. And so now it's also, like you said, him, like, if I am this Bright Star, I have to make my decisions. I have to be a leader. Also, you know, in this family dynamic, he's now like the man of the house. And he's just had his name. He's now officially a man. And it's like, what does that look like? Also, I'm becoming a man in these like very unfamiliar circumstances, in these very unfamiliar times. I have all these different people who want something from me, who need something from me, pulling this, and then also coming to the realization, someone said it, that he is the Bright Star, that he is what's going on. Also, these truths, because everyone around him, his parents and Gar, they all knew what was supposed to be his destiny. And like, he's coming to the realization of that. And like, that's his progress of like, okay, now not only am I expanding behind my family unit, but I'm building my circle. I'm creating these lasting bonds. Think about Red Rising and how the stuff that happened in the Institute all the way to Lightbringer, the connections and the relationships and the brotherhoods that he built in the Institute alone are things that are impacting the story 10 years later in Lightbringer. And so this is where he is forming his own warband. He's forming these connections. He's making these alliances. He's making these partners. And so like, it's not, oh, these actions he's taking, but these are relationships and that are being built and that are being locked in. And also him like coming into his own and like being a leader. Corbin is my baby. I'm gonna go hard.
Or do we think he's the Bright Star? I personally do think that he is, because people, like, I mean, he went into the other world and it was acknowledged that he was the Bright Star, so I feel like he is. I definitely don't think Nathar is the Black Sun, though. Because, I mean, I feel like they were using him as a reason, or like as somebody who could achieve what they wanted. I don't know who I think the Black Sun is. I do think it could be either Corwin or Varadis. I feel like they're pivotal. I feel like it would be a really good plot twist if she was the Black Sun. But I mean, a word. Corbin is the Bright Star. I don't see how she could be. But like her thing with Varadis seems like it is, because it's only been teased at, seems like it is going to be something. And he is like internally questioning things, but he's also incredibly complacent, which makes him not a good guy, because he doesn't stand up against injustice. He just like goes along with it. So I feel like I don't feel like he is going to end up on the good side.
I mean, we have the parallels between Cohen and Corbin for sure. In Shield and Storm and all that as well.
Sarah Thorne influence.
I thought that maybe she could be the Bright Star. If we're not taking it at face value that these people are the Bright Star and the Black Sun, I was like, okay, maybe it's Corwin, because she's consistently overlooked.
I can't wait to see you at the Wrath discussion. Let me say that.
She's consistently overlooked, and so because she is so close to Corbin, like geographically, and also is related to him, I thought there was a possibility that they could have mistakenly thought that Corbin was the Bright Star when it's actually her, and then she's getting like a whole different type of life experience because nobody thinks that it is her. But then because everyone seems so sure that Corbin is the Bright Star, including the people in the other world and the people around him, makes me think that it is actually him. I think if it's somebody like Calidus or Evnis, I think it's far too, like, it's not even good. Like, oh, this big evil sorcerer guy is the Black Sun. Oh my god, what a surprise. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if it's going to mislead us, it has to be good. So I feel like it has to be somebody we don't suspect, but like Varadis is somebody who we've been following for a long time. He is somebody who is kind of morally ambiguous. He could go either way at this point. He has proven that he has some sort of code of honor, like he can see injustice in front of him, but then also like he's so blindingly trusting people around him that he's not actually willing to speak up on it and like actually have any independent thought. So at this point, like it's kind of like he's not really doing anything, but we're spending so much time following him. So why? Why are we spending so much time following him if he's not actually really? And in this book, he's not just the person that observes Nether, because he's not with Nether for most of the book. So, like, why are we following him? Yeah, that's true. He's a Hadashim. I am going to say
my favorite.
it's not that deep because it's epic fantasy and it has to be that deep for me. And if it's not that deep, I'm not that into
Well,
you know?
Well, that's what I was worried about with this book, because it does follow like a lot of the hallmarks of irregular fantasy. So that's why I was worried in case it would be not that deep.
The fantasy that it follows is like epic fantasy. It's like Game of Thrones. Red Wedding. Red Wedding took everyone by surprise. Like, what the fuck is Red Wedding? Realm of the Eldlings. Do we have a lot of big plot twists in that? It's more just like emotional damage, really. Wheel of Time is a bit twisty. Could be twistier for the amount of pages it is, but it is a bit twisty.
Always getting a hit in it at Wheel of Time in these live shows, I think. Every single one, there's like some kind of jab at Wheel of Time.
That's like my whole existence. It's Becca being mad I forced her to stay with me.
It is too easy to draw comparisons.
Yeah, but in the next book, is Aaron, you said that this book is Marquin's. Is next one Varadis's? Or am I?
To make my epic fantasy comparisons, the next book is The Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, I love The Fellowship of the Ring.
It's been too long since I've read those.
Does that mean that it's like 400 pages of descriptions about trees and walking? And
is there a character who sings every 5 pages?
And I wanted to respond to Gavin's comment earlier. It was like a lot about like dads and sons. I don't know if y'all know the brothers Gwynne, but the brothers Gwynne are John Gwynne's sons, and they're really close. Like they love their daddy down. Like they're very like, so you can obviously see that he has a really good relationship with his sons, at least from what can be gleaned online. So he's like a boy dad, really. So all that relationship is like you see that, and how almost everyone has a good relationship with their father. Yeah. Every father loves their son.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me tell you.
Saying here that Varadis is True Heart, but I'm pretty sure somebody earlier on said that the person who called him True Heart was talking about him in relation to Nether. And if Nether was the bright star that he thinks he is, that would make Varadis True Heart. But if Nether is not the bright star, that does not make Varadis True Heart, necessarily. Unless it turns out that he actually is, but he's not supposed to be.
It's a lot of self-labeling. It can get confusing.
I did notice a lot of the prophecy stuff in here. I wrote some of it down. There's like pivotal players in the prophecy, like True Heart, and then there's the bright star, the black sun. There's Black Heart. There's like, I think Black Heart is also like referred to as a spider, and like various points throughout the book, it was dotted in like little bits, like they were referred to as certain things, which relates to the prophecy. But I did not go back and check the prophecy before this live show. I was supposed to. I didn't. So I only finished it this afternoon. So.
Well, if you like combat, this isn't a pro for Becca, obviously, but Ruin has the single best single combat scene I've ever read.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
It's like you will not have any trouble picturing that in your mind. Let me tell you. I think also y'all are really just not considering the giant POV or like the giants in there.
I think the giant, right? So when I started this, I remember saying like my TBR or something in the vlog, like I don't know whether the giants are good or bad inherently. Like at the minute, they're supposed to be aggressors, and I don't know if they're good or bad. We kind of find out in this book that they're both. Like there's some bad ones and there's some good ones. I think that the perspective of giant that we got in this book sucks. Like of all of the giant perspectives we could get, this was the fucking worst. Like I did not care. Like I did not want the betrayer as the perspective. I was like so psyched for the giant perspective, and I was like, of all of the giants, you picked this one. This guy. Even the one I don't know how to pronounce his name, this giant. His perspective would have been so much better. It would have been virtually pointless because he was traveling with anyone else, but this is a cool giant. That other guy is not a cool giant. Crow. I should have got the crow's perspective over his.
One thing I will say, just to put out there is raise your hand if you've seen or read Dune, because this is relevant. Yeah, but what the hell?
I know.
Oh, the list. Well, I don't know if how some series there's like so much public knowledge. It was like even if you haven't read it,
Oh, you mean like Lord of the Rings? You mean like Lord of the Rings? Huh?
Yes, some of it. But I am just a very oblivious person. If I'm not paying attention, if it's not directly relevant to me, So Paul, the main character in Dune, is the Messiah, right? But he is a manufactured Messiah. The witches, the Bene Gesserit, they're like, a Messiah is gonna come, and he's gonna do this, this, and this. Told them that for hundreds of years, for generations. He's gonna come, he's gonna do this, okay? And so then it's like people who knew that they were told that, they had children, they repeated it, they had children, they repeated it, and so now they just know we've always known that the Messiah is gonna come. But somebody told them that, okay? And the easiest way to sway a people is to either put it in their religion or put it as this cultural thing that exists that is larger than them. But it had to come from somewhere. And so all of our characters, other than the giants, are humans that are like 50, 60, maybe years old. Who in the story is greater than 50 or 60 years old that would have possibly been around?
Exactly. He would have been so much more interesting than he is. He's 2,000 years old and he's a boar.
But 2,000 years old, that also means that if he wanted to, whatever the prophecy was or whatever the prophecy will be, if he wants to alter it, the people who would know are going to die. And it's going to get passed down and it's going to be whatever he might say it is. And so it's like when people have prophecy in fantasy books, it's like, okay, the prophecy has to be true. Prophecy has to be right. Does it? Is it?
People can say anything.
People can say anything.
I do have a criticism of this book, actually. I hate how the prophecy is written.
Oh, is that where it talks about the faithful and the fallen?
Yeah, it's the first page of the book. That is the prophecy, but I don't like poetry or anything, and I know it's not poetry, but I feel like it should rhyme, and it doesn't. And like it doesn't flow very well, and I don't like it. I don't like reading it.
That's because it was written in Giantish. You're looking at it from an English perspective.
Well, in the next book, you get more giants. You even get a giant child.
Oh, all the babies that were killed.
Yeah.
No,
it was like
babies.
mercy. Yeah.
That was
mercy. No mercy for the enemy. That was so sad.
They were just babies.
Oh, something that I did find interesting actually in here. And like I said, I don't like reading the prophecy and I'm not very good at like dissecting text. But it says, Black sun will drown the earth in bloodshed. Bright star with the treasures must unite. By their names you shall know them. Kinslayer, Kinavenger, Giant Friend, Drake Rider, Dark Power against Lightbringer. So does this mean that they're all both names? In which case, who's Corbin going to kill? If he is the Bright Star and they both go by all of these names? Because it's like Kinslayer, Kinavenger. He could be Kinavenger because a lot of his family have died. He needs Giant Friend. He will have giant friends now. I don't see why would you ever want to ride a drake? They seem like pretty gross.
But if you think about it, like if Corbin is not the Bright Star and he kills Nathair, that is not the Black Star, Black Sun, whatever. So like, I don't know what I was going to say there. Like he would revenge someone, but if it's not about them, it could be something else. I say yes, read it before, but I like vaguely remember.
I think my interpretation of that is you will know this person and who they are by the people around them. The bright star, he's gonna have the Can Avenger. He's gonna have or be the giant friend. He's gonna have XYZ. Whereas the Black Sun, because it's supposed to be good and evil, he's gonna be the kinslayer. Because like in society, that's like one of the worst crimes you can do is like kill like a parent or a sibling or whatever, because it's almost always in a bid for power or whatever. That's like the worst thing you can do. It's like unforgivable is being a kinslayer.
Varadis
And Affair killed his dad.
But well, he's not. He is a kinslayer. They don't call him that because they don't know that he killed his dad. But he has been going through this list like a checklist, trying to do all of them so that he is the bright star, which isn't how it works.
That is not how it works.
And it says before one storm and shield should stand. I feel like the way that Corbin named them both fits that, but then it Storm and Shield are not just loyal to him.
No. And would that not be too obvious as well? Would it not be too obvious?
It was only actually when somebody in the book read that part of the prophecy, it might have been Corwin or something, that I realised that he'd named them Storm and Shield. I was like, oh my god. Yeah. So maybe not obvious enough.
Maybe.
Before the other True Heart and Black Heart, so that's apparently Varadis and Calidus. Then who's the Beloved and the Avenging Hand?
Maybe you don't know yet.
Beloved and Avenging Hand. The Avenging Hand.
Just based on what I hear and what I remember in this book, if I had to just guess, I would say Avenging Hand would be Macquin.
That's who I'm assuming, but I don't know who Beloved would be.
And it's also beloved by whom?
I'm trying to think of anybody, because like if that would see, I want
to be the sister.
I want him to be on the right side, so I'm assuming the Beloved would be the one with the black sun, and I'm like, who could that be?
But Macquin is kind of on the nice side because he wants to kill Jal, who killed his dude, and Jal is with.
Who it is?
What?
I just remember who Beloved is. Oh. But yeah, it could be the sister.
Oh, Adana, that's a good choice. Everybody likes her. It could be Corwin. I feel like I don't like the thought of reducing Corwin to being Beloved. Like, I feel like her destiny is greater than that.
She could be beloved of the people.
True. Corlin might be beloved by Corbin.
Corbin is beloved by a lot of people. His mum reminded him how much everyone looks up to him and loves him.
I wish my mom would do the same. Joking.
She's just as disappointed as I am. I'm kidding.
What I don't understand at this point is why do they think that Corbin and Nether... I don't know if anybody actually thought that Nether was the Black Sun. I don't know whether they just saw an opportunity to have somebody be an avatar for what they wanted. But why do they think that Corbin is the bright star? Because that isn't in the prophecy. Like, it doesn't say when it's going to happen, apart from at wartime. But obviously the Jahar and everyone knew that he was going to be the bright star. Why? Like,
yeah, because they just...
Specifically.
Yeah, they just said he was being hunted. Like, that's what his mum said to Corbin, is that he's just being hunted. And even he is wondering, like, why and how. But God does say that he is the one who's been honored to protect the bright star. So I trust God that he knows what he's doing and he knows who the bright star is. Otherwise,
all the time. They knew that in Manatherin, next to the river, on the 13th son of this star, the chosen one was born. And so she had to go. She didn't know who it was, but she had to go and find out. It's one of y'all. I got the vibe. It's one of y'all. And then the rest were just to Baron.
But, like, what is it? Like, what is it that told them that? Because we're just going on faith that they're saying that it's him, but it's like, you're not telling us. Because they're saying, like, this is the prophecy. We think that it's him because look at the prophecy. But they're not saying, like, we think that it's him specifically because of this. They're just like, it is him specifically because we just know it is. But they knew that before he potentially being anyone.
They knew before he started naming things like he named them, and before he touched a stone and saw visions, and
Yeah.
there's something more that we haven't been told yet.
Because remember early in Malice, Gar and the parents were in conference basically with like, not a witch, but someone else. And they were like, well, he doesn't know, but we know. And that's why we've done certain things with and for him. So, you know, maybe it was like Marion, I don't know. I know Becca's not religious, but everybody knows. It's like, oh, the angels came to Mary and said, you're going to have a baby for God. And she told Joseph, I'm pregnant. I know we're virgins, but I'm pregnant. I'm having God's baby. And this is going to be the savior of the world. Dun, dun, dun. But maybe you'll find out. I don't know. And also the Jahar are like kind of mystical in some ways too. So they know things. Just like the Kadishim, they came to find Nether. But they didn't say, you can't tell anybody you're going to be the Dark Lord. They said, no.
I don't think that Corbin is the Black Sun. And so if he is the bright star, why do so many people rally behind Nether? Like, why were there only 100 Jahar that believed it was Corbin?
Well, first of all, he's a prince.
Well,
so
yeah, already, like, if it's decreed, like if it's like spiritual, like why did all of these people not believe that it was Corbin?
Well, they were campaigning. The angel came and told him, you're going to be this. And also, you notice, like in various things, he's like whispering in his ear, this is the move you should make. This is the thing that you should do. And again, we already see the other characters are moving behind the scenes. So it's like, I'm going to be, like, the same way we think, like, Gar is like, I'm the protector of the bright star. The Kadishim is like, I am the protector. I'm going to be the companion of the bright star. And so where you see me, it's like with the prophecy, you'll know him by these names. So you'll know him because he's already a prince. He's already got an army just built in. And now he's, getting more soldiers. He's having these battles. He's winning these alliances. So there's like this political element that we also see like in the beginning of book 1. And he's building this up because it's not public knowledge, even at the beginning, that he is the bright star. Like, that's not what they're telling people as they're navigating. And they have this conference with all the like rulers of the land. They're like, no, you need to follow me, this and that. Oh, my son is doing this. Oh, the stars say when the little turtles come around, that's when this is going to happen or whatever. So it's like they're manipulating the signs that were always supposed to come to let you know. And of course, because I'm here and I'm the prince and I'm this and that, it's me, obviously.
Mikkel is Benalim, so he's like the Calidus for the other side, which is why I think that Corbin is the bright star, because he says that he is.
But and the other guy also says that he is too.
Well, he's not.
It could just as easily be he's not either.
No, because he's seen him in the other world. Like, there is no way that Nether is the bright star. Like, nobody, even the people who follow him, don't think that he's the bright star. They've manipulated him into. He's the only person, literally the only person who thinks he's the bright star is him.
So funny. Everybody around
he's so like, sure
we're doing this for good, yeah. And he's like, yeah, we're gonna save people, and they're like.
He just wanted to be important, so he went with it. But he is literally the only person that thinks that he is the bright star. Whereas, because like Calidus is Kadishim, and he knows that he's Kadishim, so he doesn't think that Nether is the bright star. But Mikkel is a Benalim, and because he thinks it's Corbin, and because he's seen him in the other world, that's why I believe that he is.
Makes sense.
But, like, I get this. But if Tuckle is not mad, surely more than 100 people would have believed him. Like, if what he believes is right, you would think that more than 100 people would have believed him. Like, the math ain't mathing.
It is math. Because just think about, like, inherent prejudice. What's easier to believe? That the savior of our world is a 14-year-old boy from the village, or a prince who's got an army of 10,000 men?
Well, if they'd read any fantasy novels, they would.
But they live in one, so they can't read them.
Always the savior. We know that. We know that.
I honestly never even questioned it. Like, we're having this conversation, I've never even questioned that Corbin wasn't the Bright Star. I haven't even questioned it. I've just been told it by Gwynne.
I think it's the Black Sun that's the issue.
Okay. Okay.
Any predictions for Ruin?
Any predictions for Rin?
Ruin.
For Ruin, not Rin. I think Rin's gonna die.
I think Rin is gonna end on top. No, I don't.
I think we're just gonna get progressively more miserable until the very end of the fourth book.
Yeah, probably.
That seems fairly safe.
Yeah, but I think what John Gwynne does, because there were a few things in this book that did ruin me, he doesn't stick the knife in and twist it. So, like, say the stuff with Fidel or Fiddly, like, being controlled by Lycos and all of that, like, awful stuff. Like, he kind of more, like, John Gwynne kind of more implies some things rather than actually show us. So I'm hoping that John Gwynne in the future, with any more devastating scenes, doesn't twist the knife. Like, it's fine to just say, like, what you want to imply. It was, for, Fidel, it's like such a sympathetic moment, and it was just, it made me root for her even more, and made me hate Lycos even more. I just hope that he doesn't change his tactics and make whatever happens next too, like, I've been complaining, I don't want it too detailed. No, I want it more detailed, but like, I don't want it too detailed if it's going to like ruin me. I don't know what I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I want a certain thing from this man, and I don't think he'll ever give me what I want, because I keep changing my mind about it.
That seems like you problem.
Camlet is my problem. Precious. I love him. I love an underdog or a guy who like changes sides. It's like, yeah, this is right. Or somebody finally believes in him. He's like, I'm gonna be a good man.
The only thing that I worry about with him is that it is repeated so many times that he has betrayed people in the past, that I worry that he may do it again. I would like to believe that he's not going to, but just because of how much they remind us that he's betrayed people before, that could be a potential. If this was a Sanderson book, I would know that Camlin was going to betray us at the end, because he's like said it multiple times.
But when you're following shitty people, what's betraying them? Who are you to be loyal to? They treat you bad. They leave you for dead. Okay, where's the loyalty? Where's the people who are kind to me and support me and give me words of affirmation and tell me how hot I am? Like, they don't treat me poorly. Like, they treat me like one of the group.
That's why I like him. Precious baby.
But I do want to tell y'all the title of the book is Ruin.
It's true. Is it like Dark Age, where the age really do be dark?
Yeah.
Damn. Oh, I missed it as well, yeah.
Let me think. Ruin is like, it's you're not gonna go from reading Ruin and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wait like a month and a half to read Red. I literally said, if I had to wait a year like the girls did when they were reading as it came out, I would have had to go to his house and knock on the door and say, tell me what happened. Give me the computer. Because it's crazy.
Well, we have to wait 1.5 months, as we all forget what happens in Ruin.
Also, the book was called Wrath. You're gonna be mad. They're mad. Everybody's mad because they were ruined and now they're mad.
There is a progression here.
Yeah, there is a theme.
It's like Golden Sun level.
Oh, don't.
Oh, and like this. The second series is like 130 years after, and the one POV we have that goes over is one of our giant friends.
Oh yeah, I thought so. I was saying in my Patreon sprints, I was like, there is a way to be immortal in this world, but I'm 95% sure that it is not going to be Corbin that we're following, like in the later books, because he should be dead. Maybe he's not. Maybe he is immortal and not dead, but just not relevant.
Exactly, Lynette. He's like, you're our bud. We love you.
But you got to have some betrayal. I knew that Ventos guy was fishy because he had one perspective in Malice.
Yes.
One singular chapter. And then he just kept cropping up out of nowhere in Valour and was like, hi, do you want to buy anything? Like, you're fishy, my guy. You have no need.
It was very sus.
You're going to get your betrayal. That one guy, he's like the trading guy from Wheel of Time.
Oh yeah.
Fade, not Fade. What
Is
is
it Fane? No.
Isn't it Fane?
Fane. Yes, Fane.
Yeah. I thought that's what you said.
I said Fade, and I was thinking about the Fades. No, it's Fane.
No.
Yeah. Pat and Fade. That bastard.
That's the one.
The next book is 100 pages longer.
I did think it was kind of like that bit was a little bit shoehorned in, like, oh, we need a spy, so we're going to make this guy really suspicious, and then he's a spy, and I'm like, yeah, okay. It was definitely.
But I mean, is that not the perfect decoy? You have one spy that's extremely obvious. When people are looking for a spy, they find a spy.
But like every time Becca says anything, Erin is just there to like put her off for whatever she's saying, no matter what she says.
You're like, your friend is reading a book that you're reading, and they predict something, and whether it happens or not, you have to be like, of course not. Like that's the furthest thing from reality. Like what to preserve the experience.
I know. My best friend guesses the killer every time. It's the most annoying thing in the whole world. Every single time, and I just thought, be like, no.
I was reading this thriller and I was like, oh my God, this is like the best, like biggest plot twist I've ever seen. I never could have predicted it. 50 pages and she's like, is it possible that this is going on? And I was so sad. I was like, no, of course not. That would be so wild. Like, that's so crazy. Like, how could you get that? this, and this. So clearly it's got to be this, right?
That's the problem with thrillers. It depends on the day almost that you're reading them.
Have you heard, what is it? The Truth About the Harry Kubert Affair? Joel Dicker.
Yep.
It's like it's a French and it's translated. It's like big in Europe. Y'all in Europe, y'all should know. But yeah,
that was not in Europe.
I'm in shaky California.
Well, she's got Valour with the U, so same difference.
True.
One thing that I am sad about is that we didn't get Mona Main because I thought that she was really interesting how she could see the auras surrounding people and which side that they were on. And also she controlled all the crows. So I'm wondering if Brina's crow originally came from this kind of situation as well, if the other one came from Nimit.
There's a lot of crow content in the third one. Exactly, Lady Mare. Exactly. I took Ruin and Wrath. I was in the middle of reading Ruin, and I was getting on a flight to Mexico, and I literally put big ass Ruin and big ass Wrath in my carry-on. I was like, I gotta know what's going on.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the crows are cool. I feel like the crows are going to be some sort of like remnant of ancient magic that doesn't really exist anymore. Like it used to be much more powerful than it is. I feel like that's a Game of Thrones kind of thing.
Yeah, and explains why Bryn would have them, being that she still has connections to some of the older magic.
I know earlier someone was like, I hate that like all the names are so similar. I'm like, have you ever seen a history book where it's like 18 Richards, 64 Johns? Like they only had so many names. They couldn't go on Google and be like popular girl names.
I will say that I am genuinely confused as to why people are confused about all of the characters at this point, because I'm not finding it hard to follow.
I'm not, but I did all audio the first time through, and that was a big mistake. Because harder this time, physically reading the full first book grounded everything so much better in my brain. And I think I read this before I learned that about myself, that I need to start fantasy physically and then move to audio.
Fair.
I was confused the first time because then I didn't care. So then I was just like, well, it doesn't matter who was who. But
the only thing I was like getting a little bit mixed up was when they were talking about like who's conquering what kingdom. That was the only thing I was getting mixed up a little bit. But one thing I love about this book is that John Gwynne does clarify a few times. Like actually says out like what, like who has what kingdom, and like there's quite a few reminders, and like he does refresh your memory on what people are doing and where people are. So I kind of appreciated that. I think even John Gwynne was also like, you know, there's quite a few kingdoms that are getting taken over, and like this person is in control of that kingdom, and he kind of lets us know through characters. So I appreciated that. But I didn't get confused with characters.
But that was like,
I'm sorry.
No, it's just like when they split, like when Adana, some people were going with Adana and some people were going with Corbin after they'd been together for so long. They split up, right? When he went after his sister. I was just like really like writing down which character that was still with who, because I was so used to them all being together.
All of the ambiguous men are just ambiguous men.
Yeah. So
It's
then I
like
was
I
just like,
3 went with Corbin and 3 stayed, but I had to write down 3 went with.
yeah. And like they didn't have their own POVs, like stuff like that. But then they kept repeating who was with who as well. So I was like, thank you.
Okay, my audiobook girlies, whether you have the physical book or not, go to your library, get the ebook, because there's a cast of characters, but what it does, it tells you like the country or the group and the characters in that group. So you have the people that are in Arden, you have the people that are in Benoth, and it tells you their name and like their relation to, like, okay, this is the Benothi giant, he's the companion of Utha, so that for context. And then also there is a map. I highly recommend, even if you don't have the physical or the ebook, just look up a picture of the map online and save it to your phone, because it's very easy to be like, okay, they went from Arden to Arcona. Like, why the hell did it take so long? Because they crossed the whole continent. It does take a while.
Can you tell that Aaron's a teacher? Like, is it
yeah. And I don't think my edition, but I know the further editions, they have like a recap in the beginning of like, here are all the major characters and the major events that happened. But yeah, this, even if you need somebody to send you a picture of this, let me know and we can do that. But it helps because it's like, I know that in this country we got this people. So if it's this C person, whichever C person is in this group, and it gives you just their name and where they are in the story. And that's really helpful if you're not like seeing the words on the page, to help you follow along.
That we probably, if we think of it, maybe can throw that in the Discord for the next book to put the character list in the map. I don't know that my brain will think of it immediately, but that wouldn't be a bad idea.
I want to know more about the brotherhood that Orgul was a part of. Because that's not really, nobody goes into it. They're like, oh yeah, there's this brotherhood.
Will we find out now that he's dead?
Yes, because he told Macwin to tell somebody that he still believes. Is it Meikle? He said that he still believes. And he did as much as he could, or something like that. So I feel like we will. Because there's more people in it, because the king was in it. That was good at the beginning where the king dies and they get framed for it.
Oh my god, Debbie, your dog is being so cute right now. Oh my god.
She's very clingy this weekend.
Oh, I just love it. Oh my god.
I wouldn't say the character descriptions are spoiler. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, where it's like in the prologue first chapter, they tell you who survives. And so it's like, well, if the author is okay with me knowing, then it shouldn't. It's designed to not impact my experience with the story, because they knew it was going in the front of the book. They knew it was the first chapter. So I do think, some people are more spoiler sensitive, but for the sake of, if you are struggling to keep track of who is who and where is where, if you listen to the audiobook, then this might be a little something. Take a picture, favorite it in your phone.
There was the one that I noticed that was a little bit spoilery, but it wasn't a big deal, is that it says about Pendragon that he's held prisoner in Evnis in Duncarrig. And it was when we got to the point where, was it Corwin that found him? That was when I looked him up and it told me that he was, I think I was looking up somebody else and I saw his name and it was like held prisoner by Evnis. And I was like, oh, so that's that guy then. Because I don't think it was, unless they mentioned it briefly at the end of Malice, it wasn't explicit that he was the guy who was in the prison.
I just thought of something completely unrelated to what you're saying. Because when Macwin and Orgul and everyone was fighting, right before Macwin was taken prisoner, the son of the woman, Greta or whatever, didn't one of them take the son and leave? Or did they get caught?
I was just disassociating. What did you say?
I also never pay attention to what Sandra says.
It's okay. I don't pay attention when I say either, so it's fine.
Are you also talking about this kid? Because that's what I was reading at the time.
Maybe it's the third dude, because Orgul and Macwin kept the people back while they escaped with the kid, and they're looking for the kid. But then also they'd have Lorcan, the other kid from the other one. So everyone's kids is surviving. But they're collecting the kids, but the rulers are dying.
Kids are important.
They went to so when Meikle and Tuckle were on the way back from the forest, they stopped at a guy's house who they'd stopped at on the way there 15 years ago. And they were having this big party because they'd returned, and this guy was like, oh my god, so glad you're back, thanks for these horses that you gave us. And right at the end of that chapter, that guy turned up with the kid. And I'm assuming that they then left and the kid's still there.
It's a lot
Leaving
of
the kid
kids.
somewhere safe and unassuming.
But since all of the kids are like surviving,
Said.
there's a chance for them to get their kingdoms back and all that.
I guess that they're going to be the ones that sit on the thrones at the end when all of this is said and done and everything kind of goes back to normal.
And then Corbin is hiking instead of Nathair.
Yeah, there is a thing in here that says like part of the prophecy is about a high king. Now, at the minute, we don't have a high king or anyone who is. I mean, Nathair's trying, but I don't know whether that's going to be derailed now with where he's at. So I'm wondering if it is going to be a case of it's Game of Thrones, isn't it? With the translation issue, like translation, the original language wasn't necessarily gendered. So like the High King could be the High Queen, because we do have a High Queen coming into place, which is Ren. That's going to be something.
But there's also somebody that's like forming an empire, and usually the big bads don't survive. But if we think about the Game of Thrones and a lot of other series, sometimes the right-hand man of the big bad is left standing in the end with an empire at his feet.
Interesting.
Like First Law.
Chilling.
Oh,
Chilling.
I hate that.
Sorry,
series.
Aaron. Sorry. I didn't like it either, if you want to know.
Evnis and Ren had a pact to put her in place as High Queen, which is why I said it may potentially be an issue with translation. So, like, there wasn't necessarily a word for queen, so they just like did the word for ruler, which in modern translation has translated to king, but doesn't necessarily mean king. It's the same as the prince who was promised in Game of Thrones as the one where it might not be a prince. It might be an error in translation. No. Ew. He's the worst. And Hillian annoys me because he's like, oh, he's good and he used to do this. And I'm like, he's been a prick since we met him.
Just like Gavin, joking.
I mean...
Disgusting.
Just looking back through my notes. This is how boring, not boring necessarily, but how little Corwin is doing. That's all of my notes on 2 books.
Just Corbin's sister likes Ronan.
Like Ronan. Dead.
Well, my prediction now is that now that she's now lost both of her parents, my prediction now is that come Ruin, she will take a more proactive approach. Like, I don't think she's letting anyone else kill any members of her family. I think she's going to come back vengeful. I think she's going to come with wrath. Maybe Wrath, the final book, is all about Cohen. Maybe she's like sick of all of her family dying. Maybe Corbin dies in the next book, and that's why it's called Ruin. And maybe Wrath is Cohen getting her revenge.
Maybe Corwin kills Corbin, and that's who she becomes Kinslayer, which is the Bright Star.
I was literally just about to say the opposite. I was like, maybe she's the Kinbender.
Oh, yeah, maybe she could be.
Becca just said no, she's fucking killing her brother.
Becca's got her heart set on that, I think.
So Nathair is out of the picture. Varadis needs someone to follow, and you know that Corwin's his girl. So she's just going to be like, okay, like, I need to kill my kin? Okay, Corbin, bye. Like, everyone's been obsessed with you this entire time. It's my time to shine.
The same girl who was beating bullies up on the playground last year. She don't play about Corbin.
Lycos, big Kenna energy.
I hate it and I love it because I loved Kenneth. Kenneth was horrible, but he was very fun to read about. It was like, what the hell is he gonna do next?
He also had a lot more complexity than Lycos has. Like, he was like really fucked up.
But he was also so charismatic. And Lycos is just like a rat, like a roach. He just won't die.
Yeah. Like the fact that he can only take power when it isn't actually him doing it. Like Calidus gave him whatever it was that controlled Fidel. So
he's Barrow.
Barrow, who's that?
Gavin.
I know, I haven't read anything.
Don't make me. I know where you stay.
I want you to come over here.
You gotta read the Greenbaum Saga. You have to.
Oh, I will. Yeah, he's like, even the control he gets, he can't. He forces it. Like, he doesn't even have power. He has to like manipulate it because Calidus gave him whatever it was, like some kind of doll of Fiddly or Fidel, and yeah, like it's just scum. Like he's scum. He's shit off a shoe.
He also
He doesn't-
has one of the giant guy, I think, as well. Well, Calidus has one because Calidus gave it to Lycos.
Love a voodoo doll situation.
But he is dead now, right? Like Fidel got her revenge. No, but
No,
she did.
Left
She did.
Stabbed him, and then he ran away.
Yeah, he ran away.
Oh, okay. I just saw this. It's because it happened in the same page that Ogle died, so I kind of a lot was going on.
I read the last 80 pages today, and it was a lot. Like I was getting like almost overstimulated reading it because there was too many fights, too many characters, and too many people dying, and I was like, I took a break with 30 pages left because I was like, I just can't follow it anymore. Then came later. But yeah,
I think I just assumed. I assumed probably because everyone was dying at that moment.
They literally always survive until the end.
I thought that he died too, Gavin, but then I read back and I was like, oh, he escaped.
I think that Fidel and Maquin are escaping because I'm assuming that Lycos is just going to stay in Tenebro because it seemed like the Vinthalun were just everywhere, so they decided to leave. I thought that she was going to try and gain control of the city, especially when she kind of stopped Lycos because she had her own voice, so she could summon her own warriors to kind of maybe try and restore order, but it seems like they're just fleeing. So who knows where they're going to end up? I would like to believe, like, they've got a lot of darkness now, both of them, but they were both good people to start off with and remained good until the end of, like, where we're at with them now. So I would like to assume that they're on the right side. But Fidel is Nether's mum. But we don't know what he's going to do now.
But in Nether's defense, he was perfectly fine until he was manipulated. And it's like, if someone tells you you're the savior of the world and you have to do these things to save the world, and it gets to a point where he's so far gone.
But he did turn a blind eye to a lot of bad things happening because they had to happen because he wanted to believe his destiny so much. It's the same with Varadis. Like, they can see bad things happening, but they're complacent to them because they don't want to do anything about it. So it's like, is he going to, now that he knows that he's not the bright star, is he going to make that known? Or is he going to continue to ride the success of being the bright star?
Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely.
And is this Varadis' faith in Nether is what keeps him loyal? So is Varadis going to find out that he knows that he's not the bright star and is still pretending to be, and that's what makes him?
Are we calling a homoerotic situation faith? Because the gay vibes are so strong.
Really?
You don't think so?
No.
Aww.
Maybe I need to read it. I'll try again.
I know Gavin picked up on the gay vibes.
Oh, 100%. I didn't want to say it in case I look stupid.
I know Gavin reads gay vibes even where they're
everywhere. Yeah, everywhere. Everywhere.
Becca, this man was nice to me. Do you think he's gay? And I'm like, I think he looks very straight, Gavin. Very, very.
Yes.
But
I say things that are
military, and especially like medieval knights, they would be on campaign or whatever for 6 or 7 months. Couldn't describe a woman to you.
I don't see it, and I do see gay where there is no gay because Cassius and Darrow still ship it. I
shipped Nether and Varadis. I was very disappointed when Varadis started like the system.
It's a couple of different things, and I think they all kind of work together. So it's like, it's, you know, he had not been abused, but he was like the third son, and he wasn't particularly valued by his family. They literally like traded him off. It's like, he's gonna be shit. Like, you take him off my hands, whatever. And then Nether is the first person to see him and like have this belief in him, and they immediately connected. They like saw each other over the wall, or whatever, and they were chit chatting and braiding each other's hair, and it was so cute. And then Varadis is a good soldier, and he was able to do everything that Nether wanted. And so there's this you know, not a kink, but this praise that he's giving him and this affirmation that he's receiving from him. And he's his leader. He is his prince. He's going to be his king. And if you think about like the knight bodyguard, whatever, even Dorian Chaos, there's when you have that really, really close bond, y'all are always together. and there's all these like melding of feelings, whereas even if it's not like romantic, you have this love and desire and devotion to them that goes beyond what your role is to them. And sometimes, unfortunately, you see on the other end where it's like, you might have felt this way, but you're just my captain of the guard. Sorry, but
I think one of my issues with their relationship is that I don't believe it. Like, I feel like they're in a very similar position where, like, Camlin is now, where Camlin has been, like, in a place where people don't believe in him, or they've just used him for his abilities, and he's come into an environment where he's actually valued, and people are constantly building him up. So I see his loyalty and his relationship to the people around him. But, like, I've just never, I don't know whether it was something to do with the way that it was built in the first book, but, like, I just don't feel that bond between Nether and Varadis. Especially now, I feel, because Nether is so busy that he doesn't interact with Varadis a lot. He just sends him off to do things for him. Whereas the only way that we get like an establishment of that bond is Varadis constantly being like, oh, well, I believe in him. Like, I believe in him. I feel like the actual relationship between them being built was a little bit fast. So, like, I just don't, like, the conflict that Varadis feels, I don't feel.
It's like literally the same as Devereaux, that's their ship name, Darrow and Severo, except that it's not reciprocated, and which is what I'm saying. Like, he, because at least in the capacity of what he's doing, he is getting this positive affirmation for him simply because he's doing what he wants. But as we're seeing, and we're continuing to see later on in the series, all he had was Varadis, really, in the beginning, like Varadis and, you know, his Catachem. And then now he's building his battle plan, he's building his crowd, he's building his people. He has to go and campaign and convince all the leaders that he's this and that. And so it's like, you go off and fight the Lord is what I need you to do. That's who you are to me. Right? Says Darrow, but like, Severo, I need you to get in the horse. I'm gonna sew you up into the horse. I need you to go into the fucking pipes in this building, and I need you to do this. But you're my brother. Like, I love you down. Your kids are my kids. Like, you know, it's not reciprocated. It's not just you are my tool to use, and he is, but you're also my brother. And it's not reciprocated. And that's also where the homoerotic, unrequited love comes in.
Darrow and Severo.
And just saying, Varadis needs somebody to love, and it's somebody that's giving a lot of love out. A lot of love and adoration and companionship and, you know, friendship, and it's somewhere to find some.
I would love that. I think I felt it more in Malice than I did in Valour, though.
Same.
I think that maybe that is going to be intentional, though, with like Nether slowly moving away from Varadis, because I do think we are at a point with Varadis. I think he's going to switch sides, or he's going to end up being the Bright Star or the Black Sun. Because, like I said, we spend far too much time with him and nothing really happening for him to not be like really pivotal.
You know, what is it? A kin betrayer? It was one, I think. And he considers Nether his brother.
Yeah.
His
Could be found family kin.
You know?
There is also potential for Varadis to fulfill the Kinslayer role, because he has brothers who don't necessarily agree with him, don't agree with Nether, don't agree with what's going on.
But y'all literally gave him to him on a platter.
True.
So, who is all of your favorite characters? No one.
Well,
Go on.
I was going to say Corbin so far, but I kind of like correlate.
Live show, Gavin.
What?
Said you've been giving him a lot of shit in this live show.
You know that the people I love the most, I give the most shit. Becca, you should know this. I love you, but I give you so much shit.
You love
Standard.
Then you have to love me more, because you give me more shit.
I do. I love you so much, Sandra. Like, actually hates me how much I love you. Like, I hate it. I despise it, but I love you. But I do love Corbin, but I also quite like Cora as a new character, Coraline. I quite like her as a new character. Yeah.
My favorites are Macquin and Varadis right now. Varadis for his potential, because I see some really interesting stuff coming in his future. And Macquin because, I mean, why wouldn't you? Like, tortured warrior, he's been through some shit. And I was sad about it.
Mine are the exact same as yours, Becca.
Exactly, and which, because they know that Varadis is not down for the crazy shit, and they think that he actually thinks he's a good person, and he might convince him otherwise and see through the holes in that story. My favorite character is obviously Corbin. Yeah. But a lot of my favorite books have like a young man who's come from nothing and he goes on to become someone really important. That's just like a thing that I really like.
Oh god, that sounds like me.
Does that mean that you like Rand in Wheel of Time?
When he got on his big boss shit, yes. Yes. When the I said I put him in that box and they came and set him free, he said, "You gonna kneel?" I said,
Yeah.
Now. Yes. Yes, in fact.
I was gonna say I don't have a favorite character in Wheel of Time, but I do, and it's Logan.
The character in the Wheel of Time is Perrin. So
Perrin, the one who's simping over Fail, and that's the only thing he does.
Yeah.
You have a man who's down bad.
But not for a woman like that.
Not so much.
Aaron likes to see that level of devotion.
In The Shadow Rising, Perrin was just y'all too far from that, but he was like the best character. And then I didn't see him at all in book 5, and then he didn't come into the end of book 6, and I'm like desperate. So absence does make the heart grow fonder. But my favorite character is Corbin, followed by Gar. I love a grizzled veteran warrior. I love the mentor-mentee trope. And I just love like having people who just have this devotion to someone. Like just this like he's Bird, but he's a better version of Bird, because sometimes Bird was like on some other shit. But he did raise that man child, so you know, whatever. That's a dynamic that always really works for me, because Corbin is his son. Corbin, I think they also is set in the book like Gar is almost Corbin's father more than his father was his father.
Yeah, he tried to spend a lot of time with them. I think they both did, like, it was very much like he's very well rounded because of all of he's ended up with 4 parents essentially, because he's got Gar, Brina, and his actual mum and dad, all who taught him different things that are all very valuable.
And even I feel like we saw scenes where like when the parents make a decision about Corbin, they would include Gar, because like wherever Corbin goes, Gar's gonna go too.
Yeah. I like Gar's like even sense of humor, and you know, he just gives those random smirks, and
Gar's a sleeper. Like his little lamp, his foot, he's this and that, but baby, Gar,
he goes hard.
You haven't seen nothing yet. Gar is his father's son for sure. His father isn't the leader of his little group for nothing, because he was the leader of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they all turned on him.
Because they were rat bastards. Just like the cat of Tim and the Villain.
Maybe he led them. He didn't lead them right, because no one wanted to actually follow him.
You know, full of himself, and some of the angels went with him.
Who's your favorite character, Deb?
I like Gar. I do like Corbin, and I think there's like, I think about why I dislike Rand so much and why I like Corbin so much in comparison. And I don't know the answer to that. The
answer is probably that Rand has 3 wives while Corbin does not. Yeah. That is your answer.
I feel like there's more intention in why people like Corbin, and with Rand, it's just everybody loves me.
I think Corbin is more humble, but also the situations are a little bit different, because we see Corbin as not just the bright side. We see him as a son, we see him as a brother, we see him as a friend. Right. Whereas Rand, we meet him as a farm boy, and he's immediately the second coming. Also, him being a reincarnation, I think, plays into that.
Also goes into plan.
I think it's Gwynne's ability, maybe more so, to bring depth to the characters, or just to connect the reader with the characters, in my opinion, better. Like, I just there's so many characters in here, but I feel like I know them better.
Mm-hmm.
Just you wait, I guess, so much
work. It's one thing that bugged me in this is that I think the chapters, this is really ironic, because I complain the book is too long, but I think the chapters are too short. Because I want to spend longer with each character sometimes, because it's just like I need like 2 seconds to remember who is this, and then where are we, and then now the chapter's over, and I'm like, oh, and then we move on to another. Like, I wanted to maybe some chapters to be longer, or just have less chapters that are longer. I know a lot of people are fans of short chapters, but I prefer a longer one.
That's fine.
Well, the first book had, I think, pretty much the exact same number of pages, but it had about like 30 less chapters, because on my notes, like, this had like 120 chapters, and the first book had 88. and
I
it was
know, I
still
got
around
to-
about the same pages. So
I got to chapter 103 and I was shook because I hadn't been looking, and then I looked at how many chapters I was up to, and I was like, excuse me.
yeah,
This is a difference in a Wheel of Time. Also, like the events of the first book are a lot slower, where it's a lot of battle, it's a lot of action, and unless you're gonna do a Wheel of Time 3-hour chapter, 300-page long battle, and it's like you gotta move it quickly so that it doesn't seem as long as it is.
Yeah, I did like when we had the battle, we just like switched between like the point of views that are in the battle, so like you didn't move to a different place, and I feel like that was handled well. In the battle it can go fast, but just sometimes I just wish the chapters were a bit longer, because I was just like, I just want to spend a bit more time with them.
Jurassic Park, cute name. You are absolutely right, 100%. I can remember Rebecca Ball.
3-hour prologues.
3 hours long. What is there to say? For 3 hours.
Because it's not even, the prologues are just a bunch of characters that we haven't seen in 3 books, and it's like, this is what we've been doing for the last 3 books, and I'm like, why didn't you tell me that in the 3 books I've just read?
Yep. It's like,
have you
this out?
have you all read the final book then? Have you finished the series now? Or
We have 2 books left.
2 more.
Yeah, there's in the final book there's like a 5-hour chapter or something.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing.
I know, but I don't know why, but I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Read, let me put y'all on. This is why I'm an ebook girly down, because at the beginning of each chapter in these books,
8 hours.
it gives you the POV. It tells you who it is, right? And in the ebook, there's a little line under that, and it's a hyperlink, because when you click on it, it tells you every other chapter, and then it also goes back to the beginning of the book where it tells you who this is, where they are, and it's a game changer.
A 200-page chapter.
Yeah, sorry, it's 8 hours long in the audiobook. Yeah, sorry, it wasn't 5, it was 8 hours.
Sanderson was really channeling his Jordan that chapter.
Thompson was like, let me just embed a novella into the book.
Yeah.
You know, when like One Piece that is super long, there's like a shortened version of the anime you can watch. So we kind of need like a shortened version of Wheel of Time where you cut out all like the folding of chests and
is that
fixing of shirts.
Is that not what the TV show's doing? Like, oh crap! Sorry, that's my alarm. Is that what the TV show's doing?
Yeah.
Isn't it like, you
The
know,
first
it'll be short.
season is like the first 3 books, and the third season comes out this week. Yeah, on the 13th.
I haven't even watched season 2.
Season 2
only
is
the past 4 episodes.
Posters.
Wait, what did you say, Aaron?
Season 2 is so much better than season 1. So
I watched the first episode and I was annoyed at all the changes, and then I was like, eh.
Yeah.
I watched this first season and I didn't like it very much, and then I read 11 books and I didn't like them very much, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's a lot better. It's a lot more action packed. It's a lot, like, you see a lot of cooler places because you see like across the sea, you see all these different places. The magic looks really cool. I'm excited.
Oh my god, I'll tell you what I have started watching the other day is really good, and it is book related. Silo.
That first book was so shit. Oh my god. I'm glad the show's good though.
Wait, what? What did you say? What's
Silo? It's based on the Silo series by Hugh Howey, the first book.
Oh, I just didn't understand what you were saying because I don't know English. I'm so sorry. I thought you said I was just like, what is she saying?
Tell me you don't know English when you read epic fantasy not in your first language. Please go away.
They don't have a lot of silos in epic fantasy.
I'm just saying, like, reading epic fantasy as a English is my only language. It can be challenging, especially if it's like I'm a Latin or something. Reading it in my non-primary language, please don't tell me that. You probably know English better than me.
I thought you were saying a name like Silas, and I was like, what is?
It's so good. Honestly, it's good from the first episode.
But
like,
have you read the book?
No.
Okay, because I read the books, but yeah.
Did you DNF the first book, or did you finish the first book and then DNF?
I'm sure I DNF. I'm sure it gets good, but it started as a web serial.
Yeah.
And so like each chapter is a different character, and like the first character is not dead, and they move on to a different part of the story, and they keep doing it. And reading that is not fun.
They do that in the show, and it's actually really interesting because that character that you're talking about is the first build cast member of the first episode, and it's actually like an author, like a pretty famous actress. So I was like, oh, cool, this is the main character. It's not the main character.
Yeah, that's
No,
kind of what's in the book too. But the second book is even annoying because you want to know what's going to happen next, and then the second book is a prequel. It's not a sequel.
I like the second book better.
Around a lot, but I'm so hooked. That's where I should be right now.
Yeah, just leave that one and enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm caught up on Silo. I really enjoyed the show. I'm eager for more.
Yeah, Egwene's art in season 2 was really good. Really good.
Gwynne, my fave.
Also, Nynaeve is so much less despicable on the show. She's so much less annoying. She don't be tugging on that braid, honey. Woo, she can tug on that braid.
I want her to tug on my braid that I don't have, but
I think
you get the point.
Yeah. I think I was on Reddit and I was like, how many times does Egwene Nynaeve tug the braid in the series? And it was so many.
I love it. I love it.
we have
Least
anything
favorite
else?
character, kick them out. No, I'm joking. Sorry.
Do we have anything else to add on Valour?
Yeah, we talked about at the beginning that the father-son relationships are all strong. I'm wondering where the relationship between Evnus and his son, how that's going to play out.
I liked how much Von pissed him off when he left with his.
Yeah, and that he took the book. Was it? Like,
I don't know. Once again, like with Camlin, they keep bringing up the fact that Von's dad is not good. But I want to believe that Von's good.
I do
I want to
too.
believe that he'll betray them. Eggy.
Also, you get so much Nynaeve land in season 2.
I do love
I
land.
like that Aaron is just on Wheel of Time. Like we are done talking.
It's all connected, you know?
It is. I mean, it is the background. So.
Scene with Von sitting in the dark. What if Von can communicate with them the same way that Evnus can communicate with Ren?
Ooh.
Well, I have one thing to add. When they were all talking about everyone dying, and then they were all just crying together, I thought it was a nice, not toxic masculinity moment. They were all crying and being supportive of crying. I thought that was nice in a dude bro fantasy where what
happened in the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, where it's just why are you crying, you little pimp? But here it was more it was nice they could talk about emotions, and I thought that was a really sweet moment.
This is an interesting dynamic as well because it's the same people that have brought Camlin into the fold and trust him that don't trust Von.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but I guess it's Camlin's actions that have been a problem versus his parent, and who also Camlin was just a very small fish and doing some not so savory things versus your dad is the second leader of the evil team.
True, but it's not his dad. I'm pretty sure that when we encountered him briefly where we did in Malice, he was fine. He wasn't suspicious even when he was around his dad. So I feel to be able to absolve Camlin of his sins and be no, we trust you, but to judge Von based on the acts of his father isn't fair.
Maybe it's an intuition thing. Sometimes you just know.
Maybe.
With
from my perspective, he seems fine.
Yeah.
Apart from sitting in the dark for some reason.
With the book, it's the book that he stole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With that gone, does Evnus still have the powers that he's had? Or has he lost some of his magical abilities?
I think he'll only have what he remembers. Because he'll need the words in Giantish to be able to do any magic.
Right.
Assuming it's an earth magic book, but he gave it to Brina or Brina took it from him, but she hasn't said anything about it. Oh no, it is the earth magic book, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That she
That's the one
to get some powers from the angel.
Yeah. Because he had the weird ability, he could all of a sudden he could change his face in that one, I did in Malice. We saw him do that at one point, and he's had some just random abilities. Just been wondering how much he knows versus how much he was relying on having that book in front of him.
Maybe he made a copy.
Well,
I think he probably be less upset about it being missing. He's pretty.
But he's gotta keep the front up, And so when he surprises the girls with the powers, they're like, "Well, we stole the book." But I had a copy.
I guess it might not be the only book. It was the book that was dedicated to the Earth powers, right? That was the one that they ended up taking. So you could have multiple. You could have
I think the
Different.
prophecy maybe it does reference like a book, but it calls it the book, but it's not one of the 7 treasures.
Okay.
Because I wrote down the 7 treasures as they were talking about them in the book, and I had the book down as one, but it's not. There's a talk which nobody's spoken about yet, which is the 7th one. So it's a spear, a talk, an axe, a cauldron, a necklace, a cup, and a dagger. Which is the necklace the one that Evnis has got, because he said that it felt strange, but then he didn't say that it was one of the treasures, but he seems to know a lot about them. The cup used to belong to the Banothi giants and they lost it.
Say them again?
The spear, the talk, the axe, the cauldron, the necklace, the cup, and the dagger.
The sword, the axe,
Mm-hmm.
the spear.
Interesting. Is that the last one, the dagger?
No, it's the hammer.
Interesting.
And then what are the remaining 3 books? What's the next series? Does it have the rest?
It's got swords on it, I think.
Sword.
So not so much.
So they should have been a 7.
All this shit is resolved.
Where's the necklace?
Yeah, I want to say the cup on the cover.
I want to see. No, you want to see a giant cauldron. It's too
Oh
big.
yeah.
With a person for scale.
Yes, we need that.
A person and a giant, just to get it all figured out.
Also, if you look at the back of your book at your author photo, he has his own like storm and butter.
I don't have
I don't-
one.
Yeah, all paperbacks don't have one.
Aww.
They had to put the U. They had to leave off the author photo.
Oh, nice! Wow, he looks powerful.
Mm-hmm. It's very hot.
You would like him
Very
if you saw him now, Gav. He's got well, actually, I know his son's have a YouTube channel, so I'm not going to say anything else. I think I'll stand up here. He's not an unattractive man.
No, he's very, very appealing.
He also looks like a character from one of his books.
Yeah.
I could have pictured him as the dad, as Corbin's dad. I could have pictured him.
I feel like he could have been in the book too, Gav.
Oh, who do you think I would be?
Someone handsome and strong, obviously.
Okay. I was gonna say if you want to drag me, I was gonna drag you right back.
I was gonna say you could be Nathair, you know.
Well, I
was gonna actually put him as Veritas. I could see Gavin very easily having a hero worship erotic situationship with a man in power.
Yeah, but I
I
feel
would
like
100%.
Gavin's more likely to be the man in power than the one, like the follower. You know, I feel like Gavin, like, could you really blindly follow that man through everything? I feel like you'd get bored and be like,
Depending on how hot he is, I think so. He's hot and rich, and he's seen him naked, so he knows he's packing.
But Gav is also hot and rich. He doesn't need to follow someone who is.
He is not rich. He is a third son.
He's super rich.
But does he have the ego that Nathair has?
Exactly.
Definitely, yes.
yeah.
I'm too nice-ish.
Yeah, Nathair is nice-ish.
Well, that's
except for the
okay.
whole killing his father, you know. But
Nathair doesn't do anything. He just, everyone else does stuff
Yeah.
around him, and he takes the credit for it. So you can be nice, just quietly.
I mean,
Yeah,
except for the kill father part, maybe.
I feel like I would be easily manipulated into believing I was the chosen one. I don't believe that.
Like the chosen one, who me?
I always knew. I always knew it.
They said 2 different reactions of Corbin and Nathair of you are the chosen one. And Corbin's like, huh? And Nathair's like, okay, that makes sense.
They always say anyone who is like too eager to get power, there's a person that isn't gonna do it. And that's why I always like not to give the brand of it all, but they're like the person who wants the power, at least they should be the king.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Except Brian.
Exactly, except Brain. Ain't nobody except him.
I understood that reference. Every other reference you've said in this live show, I'm like, yeah.
I try to cater to the audience, okay? Look at him. Look at that handsome guy.
Yeah. You shared my story a couple of days ago when I was reading Valour to my son. I was like, He shared it. He knows I exist. Amazing.
Wow.
Like, you can just tell, like, he doesn't have a boring day in his life.
You
Not
know,
a boring
like,
day in his life.
sorry, what the hell? Also, having this and you have kids, it's like, what are you doing with this? Imagine a child running behind another child, literally with an axe. A literal axe.
I bet they had the best time growing up, honestly. I would have loved it if my dad was a little bit more proactive, I'll tell you.
With an axe?
Yeah. Honestly,
And
I
the
would have
next
taken anything.
cabin is your slippery slope into patricide that puts you right in line to be the star of the story.
There's him with, shield.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're in for
Right.
a good time.
Does this conclude our thoughts on Valour?
Hell yeah.
I think so. I'm excited to ruin
When
it.
is the next? When is the next?
May 9th. May 9th.
11th.
11th.
Of May.
I'm sure my birthday's on a Friday. Isn't my birthday on a Friday? May 7th?
No.
The 11th is a
On
Sunday.
Wednesday, mine's on a Monday.
Oh my god.
So it depends whether you have your birthday weekend or whether you're going to take the same birthday weekend as me, which is the bank holiday.
I don't really have a birthday weekend. I have a birthday month, so
Period.
I'm fine.
Well,
I'm fine with
I
anything.
I also share your birthday month. I just wanted to add, so like you didn't leave me out here.
I'll continue. I'll continue to leave you out.
Exactly, Tara.
I'm going to be in your neck of the woods on the 9th if you would like to do birthday celebrations.
Ooh.
But yeah, we'll be back on the 11th of May-ish.
Mhm.
We will obviously announce it close to the time, but that is the day that we are working with at the minute, where we will be reading Ruin by John Gwynne, which I do not have to hand, but I'm very excited.
I need everyone to vlog it. I really do. I really do. Becca, I want the Assassin's Fate level vlog. You remember that? Where you were on the floor crying? I want that.
Oh, the next live show is going to be so weird. If it's going to be a tear fest, genuinely excited to see how that goes down. So excited.
I never cry.
Okay.
Sometimes same, Sandra. Sometimes same.
Well, I've already cried twice, so I think I will probably be crying.
Becca was 100 pages into the book, and she was like, "Does the dog? Does the wolf die? Let me know right now, because I'm gonna put this shit down. I'm gonna do
I
that."
was scared. I was scared about that. Well, when did you cry during this one, Becca, in Valour?
When Corwin saw Corbin and her mum, and then when their mum died.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But anyway, we'll see you all in May. Get your tissues ready. And thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for all of my stunning hosts for being here. And we'll see you next time. Bye.